At first glance, it sounds unbelievable. Most people park their cars in a garage, but John Travolta parks a full-sized commercial airplane in his front yard. And no, this isn't some Hollywood exaggeration. The legendary actor actually lives inside a private aviation community in Florida, where he can quite literally take off in a Boeing 737 whenever he feels like it, even for something as casual as dinner. But behind this extraordinary $250 million lifestyle lies a deeper story, one shaped by passion, loss, and a surprising new chapter that few people saw coming. To truly understand Travolta's life, you have to start from the ground up, literally. While most celebrities settle into gated mansions in places like Beverly Hills, Travolta chose something entirely different. His home sits inside Jumbo Air Aviation Estates, a residential air park designed for people who don't just love flying, but live for it. But long before jets ever touched this land, it told a completely different story. Decades ago, the property belonged to Muriel Vanderbilt, a member of the powerful Vanderbilt family, the same dynasty that built America's railroad empire. Back then, the land was peaceful and refined, used for breeding elite thoroughbred horses and hosting high society gatherings. That quiet elegance didn't last forever. In 1980, everything changed when Arthur Jones took over. A brilliant but unconventional inventor, Jones was the mind behind Nautilus fitness equipment, but his vision for the property was anything but ordinary. He replaced horses with something far more unexpected. At one point, he brought in 63 baby elephants from Africa, allowing them to roam freely across the land in Ocala, Florida. It was a surreal sight, massive wildlife wandering alongside farmland. To support his growing ambitions, Jones constructed a massive runway, an engineering feat that would later become the foundation of Travolta's dream. Stretching 7,550 feet, the runway is longer than many found at commercial airports. Built with reinforced asphalt, it's strong enough to support aircraft as large as a Boeing 737, weighing well over 100,000 pounds. That runway would eventually change Travolta's life. In 2001, John Travolta and his late wife, Kelly Preston, purchased their property here for around $3.5 million. But they weren't interested in building just another luxury mansion. Instead, they created something truly unique, a home inspired by a 1950s airport terminal. With sweeping concrete curves and expansive glass walls, the design echoes the iconic TWA Flight Center in New York. Inside, the house feels less like a residence and more like a private terminal. The living room features floor-to-ceiling windows, but instead of overlooking gardens or a pool, they frame an extraordinary view. Jets parked just steps away. Sit on the sofa, and you're face to face with the nose of a full-sized aircraft. Even the smallest details reflect Travolta's aviation passion. The curtains are a very specific shade of blue, matched exactly to the branding of Qantas, an airline he has proudly represented as an ambassador for over 2 decades. Functionality plays a huge role in the home's design. The kitchen, for example, isn't just for family meals. It's built to serve an entire flight crew. With industrial-grade stoves and a walk-in refrigerator, it's designed for efficiency before long-haul trips to cities like Paris or London. But perhaps the most fascinating room is his personal office, known as the Control Tower. Located upstairs, it overlooks the runway, giving Travolta a pilot's eye view of everything happening below. From there, he can monitor aircraft movements, check weather conditions, and even prepare flight plans. It's not just a home, it's his command center. Yet, for all this luxury, Travolta's story didn't begin in wealth or privilege. He was born in 1954 in Englewood, the youngest of 6 children. His father, Sam, worked as a tire salesman, while his mother, Helen, was a drama teacher and actress, the true creative force in his life. Their home was filled with imagination. Instead of a typical basement, the Travolta household had a stage. Every day, the children would perform, singing, dancing, and acting for anyone willing to watch. It was here that John first discovered his love for performance. But he had another obsession too: airplanes. As a child, he would sit outside watching flights coming in and out of LaGuardia Airport. While other kids collected comic books, John collected airline timetables, memorizing routes and dreaming of one day sitting in the cockpit. At just 16 years old, he made a bold decision. He dropped out of high school and moved to New York City to chase his dream of becoming an actor. It was a risk, but one that would soon pay off. After landing small roles in commercials, his breakthrough came in 1975 with the hit TV show Welcome Back, Kotter. As Vinnie Barbarino, the charming but dim-witted rebel, Travolta became an overnight sensation. Teenagers across America idolized him, but for Travolta, television fame was only the beginning. He wasn't just aiming to be a TV star, he wanted something bigger. He wanted to conquer the movies. In 1977, everything changed for John Travolta. That was the year he landed the role that would turn him into a global icon: Saturday Night Fever. He played Tony Manero, a young man working a simple job in a paint store by day, but transforming into a king of the disco floor by night. Travolta didn't just play the role, he became it. For months, he pushed himself to the limit. He ran miles every day. He trained relentlessly, dancing for hours on end, chasing perfection. And when the film finally hit theaters, he delivered exactly that. The white suit became legendary. The soundtrack by the Bee Gees defined an entire generation. But while the world celebrated his rise, behind the scenes, Travolta was quietly breaking apart. During the filming of Saturday Night Fever, he fell deeply in love with Diana Hyland, an actress who had played his mother in the TV film The Boy in the Plastic Bubble. Despite an 18-year age gap, their connection was undeniable. Then came the devastating truth. Diana was battling breast cancer. Travolta left the set to fly to Los Angeles, determined to be by her side. He held her hand through her final moments. She was only 41. The loss shattered him, yet he had to return to New York, back to the set, back into that white suit. Crew members later recalled how he would break down between takes, only to wipe away his tears the moment the cameras rolled, stepping back into the role of the confident, electrifying Tony Manero. It was the first time the world saw not just his talent, but his strength. After Saturday Night Fever and Grease, Travolta became the biggest star on the planet. But the 1980s told a very different story. A string of poor decisions began to take a toll. He turned down major films like American Gigolo and An Officer and a Gentleman, both of which became huge hits. Meanwhile, the projects he did choose, including Perfect and Two of a Kind, failed at the box office. Critics were quick to write him off. Some even labeled him a one-hit wonder. But while his career struggled, his personal life was about to take a turn for the better. In 1987, while filming The Experts, he met Kelly Preston. The movie itself didn't succeed, but something far more important happened on set. He noticed her immediately. Kelly was already married at the time, but unhappy. Travolta reportedly told friends from the very beginning that he was going to marry her. Not long after, at a cast party, they found themselves on the dance floor together. Kelly hesitated, intimidated by his reputation as an incredible dancer. But Travolta took her hand, guided her with confidence, and spun her into a moment neither of them would forget. She later said that was the moment she fell in love. They married in 1991. Originally planning a grand New York wedding, the chaos of paparazzi forced them to change course. Instead, they slipped away to Paris for a quiet, intimate ceremony. Now, they were ready to build a life together. But Travolta still had one major challenge left: his career. By 1994, many believed he was finished. He had become associated with lighter roles, including films like Look Who's Talking, and was no longer taken seriously as an actor. Then came an unexpected phone call. A young director named Quentin Tarantino wanted to meet him. The project? A small, unconventional film called Pulp Fiction. When Travolta arrived at Tarantino's apartment in Los Angeles, he was stunned. It was the very same apartment he had lived in during his early struggling days in the 1970s. It felt like fate. But the meeting itself was anything but typical. Instead of rehearsing lines, they spent hours playing board games, many based on Travolta's own past work, including Welcome Back, Cotter, and Grease. Sitting on the floor, laughing and reminiscing, Travolta realized something important. Tarantino truly believed in him. He offered Travolta the role of Vincent Vega, a dark, complex character far removed from anything he had done before. The studio wasn't convinced. They wanted a bigger, more conventional action star. But Tarantino refused to back down. Travolta, in turn, took a massive risk, accepting just $150,000 for the role, far less than his usual pay. It turned out to be the best decision of his life. Pulp Fiction became a cultural phenomenon. Travolta was suddenly cool again, dangerous, charismatic, and effortlessly captivating. And yes, he danced again, reminding the world of the magic that made him famous. He even earned an Academy Award nomination. Overnight, everything changed. Offers flooded in. Salaries skyrocketed. By 1996, he earned $12 million for Michael. A year later, he made $20 million for Face/Off, followed by similar paychecks for A Civil Action and The General's Daughter. In just a few years, he made over $100 million. Once again, he was one of the highest-paid actors in the world. And this time, he used that success to build the life he had always dreamed of. That dream leads us back to Florida, and that incredible runway. Because Travolta didn't just buy one plane, he built an entire fleet. For years, his most prized possession was a Boeing 707, lovingly named Jet Clipper Ella after his children. Originally flown by Qantas in 1964, the aircraft was a flying piece of history. Travolta invested millions restoring it, adding bedrooms, a dining area, and transforming it into a luxury space in the sky. But maintaining a 60-year-old aircraft proved incredibly difficult. So in 2017, he made a remarkable decision. He donated the plane to an aviation museum in Australia, ensuring it would be preserved for future generations. Today, his primary aircraft is a Boeing 737. While most passengers know it as a crowded commercial jet, Travolta's version is something entirely different. Registered as N327JT and built in 1988, it has been completely transformed. The interior is more like a private apartment, featuring a master bedroom, a full bathroom with a shower, a dining area, and plush leather seating throughout. It's luxury at 30,000 feet. In 2024 alone, flight records show the aircraft completed around 9 trips. Long-distance journeys that consumed over 18,000 gallons of fuel, costing more than $100,000. And that's just one plane. He also owns a Dassault Falcon 900, a sleek 3-engine corporate jet capable of flying across oceans without stopping. Perfect for quick international travel. Then there's the Eclipse 500, a compact, high-speed jet that Travolta can pilot himself. Think of it as a sports car, but for the sky. But the biggest development came much more recently. In late 2024, John Travolta made a move that stunned aviation enthusiasts. He acquired a true legend of the skies, the Lockheed Super Constellation. If you've never seen one before, it's unforgettable. With its elegant dolphin-shaped fuselage and 3 distinctive tail fins, the aircraft, nicknamed Connie, is widely considered one of the most beautiful planes ever built. Born in the 1950s, it features 4 massive propellers and a design that feels almost timeless. But this particular aircraft had been grounded for decades. It sat quietly in a museum in Kansas City, untouched and unable to fly for nearly 20 years. That changed in January 2025. Travolta's company purchased the aircraft, and what happened next was nothing short of remarkable. A dedicated team of mechanics got to work, and against all odds, they brought it back to life. One by one, the engines roared awake. Smoke poured from the exhaust, The propellers spun again. Then, slowly, the plane began to move. For the first time in decades, the Constellation taxied under its own power. Travolta's vision is even bigger. He hopes to fully restore the aircraft and fly it all the way home to Florida. It's an ambitious project, but also a mission to preserve a piece of aviation history. Because Travolta isn't just a collector, he's a pilot. While many wealthy aircraft owners prefer to sit in the back with a glass of champagne, Travolta takes the captain's seat. He holds the highest level of pilot certification, an airline transport pilot license. He's qualified to fly some of the largest aircraft in the world, including the Boeing 747, 707, and 737. But even for someone with that level of experience, flying can turn dangerous in an instant. In 1992, he came frighteningly close to losing everything. It was Thanksgiving night. Travolta was piloting a jet through dark skies and worsening weather, with his family on board. Then, suddenly, everything failed. The electrical system went completely dead. No radio, no lights, no navigation instruments. He was flying blind, deep in the clouds, with his wife and infant son beside him. For a moment, he believed it was over. But then, through a narrow break in the clouds, he saw something. The Washington Monument. That single landmark gave him his position. Using it as his guide, he was able to locate the airport and perform an emergency landing. They survived. That moment stayed with him forever. Years later, in 2023, he returned to that memory through film. In The Shepherd, Travolta plays a mysterious pilot who guides a lost aviator to safety through heavy fog. It wasn't just a role, it was personal, a quiet tribute to the night he was given a second chance. And when he's not in the sky, Travolta still has a need for speed, this time on the ground. His car collection reflects decades of passion. One of his prized possessions is a 1979 Rolls-Royce Silver Shadow, purchased shortly after his breakout success in Greece. With its soft leather interior and polished wood details, it represents the moment his life changed forever. He also has a deep appreciation for classic American design. Among his favorites is a 1958 Ford Thunderbird, finished in a striking blue, evoking the golden age of 1950s diners and open highways. But not every story in his garage has a happy ending. Travolta once owned a rare 1970 Mercedes-Benz 280 SL, a sleek convertible known for its distinctive pagoda roof. In 2011, he parked it briefly on a street in Santa Monica. When he returned, it was gone. The car had been stolen. Although police later caught the thieves, the damage had already been done. The vehicle had been dismantled and sold for parts. He never saw it whole again. In recent years, Travolta has also begun simplifying his life. After decades of ownership, he sold several of his properties, including a massive estate in Islesboro. The mansion, with its 20 bedrooms and English manor-style design, had been a summer retreat for over 30 years. Originally purchased in 1991, partly because his friend Kirstie Alley lived nearby, it held decades of memories. After multiple attempts, it finally sold in May 2025 for $7.5 million, a record for the island. It marked the end of an era. He also sold another home in Clearwater, located near the headquarters of the Church of Scientology, for $4 million in 2021. But one place he fought hard to protect was his aviation sanctuary. In 2024, a developer proposed building hundreds of homes and commercial spaces near the runway at Jumbo Air. Travolta strongly opposed the plan. He warned that increased development near active jet operations could be dangerous and would disrupt the quiet, rural environment he valued. In the end, the developer backed down. The airpark remained untouched, his private world preserved. But no story about Travolta is complete without acknowledging the profound losses he has endured. In 2009, tragedy struck. While his family was vacationing in the Bahamas, they were staying at a luxury resort when the unthinkable happened. His 16-year-old son, Jet Travolta, suffered a seizure. Jet, who had autism and a history of seizures, fell and hit his head. Despite desperate efforts, including CPR, he could not be saved. It was the darkest day of Travolta's life, and heartbreak was followed by something even more disturbing. In the aftermath, individuals attempted to extort the family, demanding $25 million in exchange for silence. The situation led to a painful legal battle, forcing Travolta to testify in court. But eventually, overwhelmed by grief, he chose to step away from the case. He didn't want justice anymore. He just wanted peace. During that time, something unexpected helped him endure. The people of Ocala, Florida. They didn't treat him like a celebrity. They treated him like a neighbor. They protected his privacy, kept the media at bay, and offered quiet support during his darkest moments. And according to Travolta, that kindness is what helped him survive. Then, a decade later, tragedy struck once again. In 2020, Kelly Preston passed away after a private 2-year battle with breast cancer, a fight she and John Travolta had chosen to keep out of the public eye. Her loss left a silence that was impossible to fill. Kelly had been the heart of their family, the one who designed their homes, organized their gatherings, and held everything together behind the scenes. Without her, life changed overnight. Travolta stepped away from work. He retreated to his aviation estate in Florida, focusing on what mattered most, his children. With his daughter Ella Blue Travolta and his young son Benjamin Travolta by his side, he devoted himself fully to being a father. In a heartfelt message to fans, he shared a photo of Kelly and explained that he needed time to grieve, to heal, and to rebuild. So, what does life look like for John Travolta now? As of 2026, he has just turned 71. And interestingly, far from Hollywood, he's celebrated in a rather unexpected way. In Olinda, there's a long-standing tradition during Carnival. A towering 12-foot puppet modeled after Travolta is paraded through the streets in his honor. It's a quirky tribute that has continued for nearly 4 decades. Back home in Florida, however, his world revolves around family. His son Ben is now a teenager, full of energy and passion for gymnastics and parkour. To support him, Travolta transformed part of his massive garage into a personal training space, complete with trampolines and foam pits. Like any proud father, he often films Ben's flips and stunts, sharing them online. Meanwhile, Ella, now 25, is carving out her own path. Following in her father's footsteps, she has stepped into both music and acting. She released her album Colors of Love, marking her official debut as an artist. In late 2025, father and daughter shared a special experience together. They traveled to Gran Canaria to film a new movie titled Black Tides. The story is intense, a survival thriller where Travolta plays a father trying to reconnect with his daughter during a sailing trip, only for their journey to turn into a nightmare when they're attacked by a pod of rogue orcas. For Travolta, the project meant more than just another role. It was a chance to work alongside his daughter, something he clearly cherished. And when he's not filming or flying, life is surprisingly simple. In Ocala, locals see him as just another neighbor. He's been spotted enjoying dinner at Bonefish Grill, browsing aisles at Target late at night, or even sitting quietly in a Denny's at 3 a.m., eating an omelet. Despite decades of fame, he remains approachable. Fans say he's kind, often happy to take a photo or share a quick moment. He still enjoys driving his vintage cars through town, but his true passion remains the runway just outside his door. From time to time, he hosts casual fly-ins, inviting fellow pilots to land at his home. Small planes line up beside his massive Boeing 737 as guests gather for breakfast, swapping stories over pancakes and coffee. It's a lifestyle unlike any other. After more than 50 years in Hollywood, Travolta's success has translated into immense wealth, an estimated net worth of around $250 million. He continues to earn from iconic films like Grease and Saturday Night Fever, along with investments and property holdings. But that lifestyle comes at a cost. Maintaining a Boeing 737 isn't cheap. Fuel alone can cost more than a luxury car for a single fill-up. Add to that the expense of pilots, mechanics, and hangar space. It's a serious commitment. Yet, for Travolta, it's worth every dollar. Because for him, flying isn't just a hobby. It's freedom. Up in the sky, there are no cameras, no autograph requests, no expectations, just the cockpit, the controls, and the horizon ahead. In the air, he isn't a movie star. He's simply a pilot, a man who built a world where he's always in command. And even at 71 years old, John Travolta is still flying high.